Hi, I'm Callie, and welcome to the Self-Worth channel, where I share my tried and tested secrets to becoming your most fulfilled, liberated, magnetic woman from the inside out using the power of energy. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button below and the bell to be notified every single time I post a new video about breakup, self-worth, and transforming your life. It means a lot to me to know who I impact and how, so be sure to subscribe and to comment below with how these videos resonate with you so that I can continue to provide customized guidance straight to you every day. So, a glow up. The women that come to me and join the self-worth system, they aren't just looking for a surface level solution to get their ex jealous or get them back. They realize that doesn't work and that doesn't heal them. They realize that a physical change doesn't equate to deep emotional fulfillment, and it ultimately doesn't get their ex back long term. It doesn't attract their most liberated life, and it doesn't give them love. So today we're going to talk about how to glow up from the inside out in a way that generates abundance, magnetism, and long-term transformation rather than a quick fix. I'm going to share how to glow up the self-worth system way in 3 steps. And to give this some perspective, let's think about your kitchen. Callie, what does a kitchen have to do with being the best version of yourself? Well, it is the best I could come up with in terms of an analogy on a Monday night with a sick toddler. So let's go with it. Let's say you make yourself 3 meals a day. And after every meal, you put the dishes in the sink and you say, well, I'll just clean this up later. It's just work you don't want to do right now. So a few days go by and you have a big stack of dishes in the sink. And as you continue to let the dishes pile up, it starts to smell. And I have such a sensitive nose, so it really smells. Food starts to fall all over the floor and mold starts growing all over the dishes. And then one day you realize that this mess is so big that it is overwhelming. As soon as you realize how big this mess is, your mentor calls. Somebody who you look up to, somebody who you want to be like, somebody that feels and resonates deeply with you. She's coming over in 20 minutes. What do? Well, for starters, you could just put a big towel over top of it and you could hope that she doesn't notice, right? Well, it seems easier than cleaning up this big mess. And she might not see the mess, but she'll definitely smell something going on. And it's probably not gonna help the fact that there is a big towel hovering over your sink. Also, is this something your mentor would do? Do you see where I'm going yet? There is a big misconception that glow-ups are something that just help us to heal and get over a breakup, but it's simply not the truth. Over the course of our relationships, we as women have a pattern of putting ourselves last. That is why we become overwhelmed so easily. It's why we become anxious. It's why we become potentially avoidant and run away from our challenges. It's rooted in the lack of care that we have given ourselves because we have simply overgiven in our relationships. And this is all because we have this belief that we need to earn love in order to receive it. And this was created way before we had any control over what we were to believe in ourselves. This was created back when we were little, and even before that, we had these internal belief systems, and it made us feel like we had to earn love somehow, that we weren't worthy. So what did we do? We spent the rest of our lives either hiding from the fact that we didn't deserve love or anxiously trying to earn it. And then eventually, when we experience a deep pain from a breakup, we think about the idea of going back to clean up this big mess after years of neglect. And it just seems so daunting that we avoid it. If you can relate to this, comment below and share your story of what has been put aside for you that you're looking to heal in this glow up. So after a breakup, we can put lipstick on and we can go have fun. And that actually might help to some degree, but it won't get to the deeper lying subconscious beliefs that we have about ourselves. And it won't change our energetic frequency and what we attract. Just like putting a towel over the dirty dishes won't really clean them. So then what do we do? Well, we have to clean up the mess that was created in the first place. And it's not like it was even our fault, it's just that it's there. We have to tend and nurture to the parts of us that have been neglected, that we didn't learn how to tend to in school, and to rediscover how to put ourselves first. And sure, it might mean tending to ourselves by taking ourselves to a movie, going out for dinner, going out with the girls, or having a glow up. But the root of it is figuring out exactly what it is that has been neglected over the past few years and beyond, so that we can truly heal it from within. And then we can train the brain to put ourselves first. Then we will attract that love in return and stop overgiving in relationships. And once we have done the hard work of cleaning up all the dishes, we can maintain this so much easier. But that's why we avoid doing the hard work, because in the beginning stages, it feels like really hard work. It's new to the brain. It is completely uncharted territory. And we know it's going to be hard initially when we put in the work. But it truly is the way to healing. And when you have accountability partners, community, when you're not doing it alone, it really makes it easier. Now, I'm saying this as somebody who has been there, because I spent my whole life going through this and experiencing relationship pain, relationship pain, relationship pain. So for this reason, I have generated 3 steps to completing the self-worth system glow up from the inside out. Here they are. Step 1, identify your patterns. What is a pattern? Well, just to begin, you can write down every time you catch yourself in a heightened state, like a stress response. Anytime that you feel like you're coping rather than dealing with something head on. That's a pattern. So write it down. What was the story? What happened? How did your nervous system respond? Was it trying to pull someone closer? Was it running away? Was it getting frustrated and angry? Explain. Now, the second part underneath identifying that pattern is trying to figure out what this pattern is identifying about your life. That's what we're trying to do by keeping track of patterns of how we're coping in what situation. So, for example, I used to get really, really overwhelmed when somebody would expect me to be somewhere at a certain time. It's a pattern for me. And I usually, if I were to do this subconsciously, I would start conflict with other people because there was this expectation behind it, especially with my significant other, to avoid addressing the deeper rooted reason for the pattern. And that was because timelines were always a really stressful thing for me growing up. And it ended up creating conflict within the relationship rather than connection. This is just one little example of a pattern, but now, because I have addressed this pattern and gotten to the root of it and taken the steps that I will explain, I now have the power to intentionally change my stress response to a really thoughtful, laid out approach. So to summarize, number 1, just write down your patterns. Write down when you feel stress. Write down the situation, what you responded with, and how the body felt. Number 2, train the brain. The brain is not us. The brain essentially uses what it knows to emit an energetic frequency and to instill certain beliefs in us that we basically run upon. So it's up to us to train the brain to create belief systems that align with what life that we actually desire, rather than letting the brain run free based on belief systems that we didn't have any control over developing while we were growing up. So how to do this? You want to hyper focus specifically on the situation, the circumstances that you identified in number 1, identifying your patterns. And you want to use the imagination to your advantage. So you want to close your eyes, visualize, hyper focusing on the thoughts and patterns that you identified, and intentionally rewire them by way of imagination. So close your eyes. You can try this with me right now. Close your eyes. Think of a time when you had a pattern or a stress response. Now, Think about how that feels in the body. And now shift the imagination to a time where you were calm, regulated, and you were in control of your response. Think about a time, even when you were little, when your caregivers didn't rush you, where your caregivers gave you unconditional love, where your caregivers were fully there for you, where you were able to break free of this pattern. Imagine that. How does that feel? Now, this feeling is what we want to cultivate, because this is what we're telling the brain we want to believe. So number 2, in this step, what we're doing is we're training the brain through feeling to repattern, to override this old pattern by teaching it that we have the ability to not only believe that we are capable of different, but to imagine that playing out in real life. So how do we bring this into action? Well, let's give an example. Do you usually feel like you have to bring something to an event even though they said, oh, just bring yourself? Is this rooted in maybe a response of wanting to feel accepted or not being able to just be yourself and be loved as who you are? To combat that, try bringing nothing and see how it goes. Bring yourself and tell yourself that you are enough. We have to train the brain like this through imagination and then action, because it's like a workout. If we don't train it and then put it into action, we can't lift heavy for the real event. So that's it. Imagine yourself doing that and then actually execute. How would it feel to start training like this, like it's your job? Comment below and let me know how this feels and what it is that you're going to do to imagine a different outcome and to take it into action. It doesn't mean don't bring something every time, but when we're healing, we need to experience life as we are to show the brain and train the brain that we are loved and accepted just as we are. We don't need to bring that thing in order to be loved. We want to bring that thing, not feel the need to bring that thing. So just try it, notice the room, and when you experience acceptance and love by just bringing yourself, you have already started the process to training your brain to believing that you are worthy just as you are. And the final step, expect resistance. It is not going to be easy at the start, but it is not fun cleaning the dishes. So why do we do it? Because it's worth it. Because the satisfaction that we feel afterwards is so worth the work that we put in the beginning. We don't do this healing work because it's easy, or else everybody would do it. We do it because the desire for a fulfilling life is greater than our comfort in the pain that we're experiencing. It's like the feeling of having a clean home rather than the feeling of just looking at those dishes. It's the empowerment that we have afterwards, and to be able to look back and say, I did that. You're worthy of more than just a simple glow up. You are worthy of reclaiming your power, your true self, your capabilities, and becoming the confident and radiant woman that I know you are. And if it feels like you're ready to take the plunge and to become the best version of yourself, book a free discovery call so we can get on the phone and we can chat. And we'll see if you're a fit to join the Self-Worth system so that you can get on the right track and heal from the inside out using the power of energy and attract the love and life you deserve. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe to my channel and the bell to be notified every Thursday when I launch a new video about breakups, becoming your best self, and making him realize what he lost.